is something about the education issue that I thought we always overlook, okay? This has been a fundamental institution and approach of the American government on every level, state and rest, since Thomas Jefferson. It was understood that if the government doesn't do much, it at least does that. And now we say, no, that's a bad idea. We don't want government involved in this school. Well, who the hell else is going to do it? I guess, TV playing corporations that Betsy DeVos owns. That's the way, I guess that's what they want. But that's how
people are easier to control.
Well, that's right. But that's how fundamentally the concept of public education has been. And we lose sight of that. We think this is some temporal issue. It's not at all. That's like highways and roads. I mean, what the hell does the government do if it doesn't do that?
Right.
You know? Okay, sorry. Hi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel McClung. I am a fourth-generation Texas Democrat, and I'll start beginning with Thornberry. Do you remember when you campaigned on the new and novel idea of term limits 22 years ago? Good job on that. You're consistently against immigration to Texas, and I'd like to ask you, are you aware of how many farms and ranches in your own district that cracking down on immigration would directly affect? And moving on to criminal justice reform, we have seen Colorado be extremely successful with marijuana legalization, yet consistently, all Texas politicians stick your head in the mud and act like that is not, the future is not a bit greener. If we are not going to explore options for legalization, could we at least look at decriminalization to ease the overpopulation on our state and local jails? And opioid use is becoming an epidemic across the entire country. What are we going to do in Texas to focus on treatment rather than institutionalization, because it doesn't work? These people are suffering and they need our help, not institutionalization. All it's doing is making money for private prisons, which is another thing we need to address, and crack down on private prison and the profit-making machine that is. It's ridiculous. In regards to Trump and his proposed wall, that is directly going to affect Texans, especially our economy, and especially those that own property. Are you going to toe the party line? Are you going to stand up for your citizens and stand up against eminent domain and say, this is ridiculous, we don't need a wall, we need more comprehensive and sensible and compassionate immigration reform? I am a mother, soon to be mother to another child. Texas has the opportunity to be a leader since we manufacture most of the textbooks. It is beyond me, and that falls on us to put more pressure on our State Board of Education, that we are still having this debate that you see the political and Christian right influencing the textbooks that our children are being taught with. And we need to step up and make sure that these kids are getting an objective education and presented all points of view, not just one or the other. To that end, my grandmother worked for CPS for 40 years. My mother is a state employee. What are you going to do with all this talk about healthcare reform, with having the public retirement system on the chopping block, Medicare, Social Security, people who have worked hard their entire lives and paid into these systems, and you're willing to write them off with the signing of a pen? It's not right. And there's a better way. We can fix this problem without punishing our elderly and punishing those that have worked and paid into that system their entire careers. And I think that since Donald Trump has been elected, we have seen our representatives, again, stick their heads in the sand. It was reported Ted Cruz shut down his phone lines and everything else to avoid having any kind of public confrontation. We can see tonight that our views and our opinions don't really matter to them. And I would like everyone to remember Ted Cruz especially is up for re-election
Just remember, the good people don't smoke marijuana. The bad people do that. I think that's a good policy statement.
Or sick people. Sick people.
Those states that have legalized that are just full of too many bad people. We don't have to put them down. Sorry, I just needed to weigh in for somebody. That's unfortunately being savage in his absence, not even as a cardboard cutout. Yes, ma'am.
I'm live streaming it, so I'm going to try to keep things in focus on what I'll do. I also have my own background sounds. Tornado answer. I was in the military. When I was in the military, I saw peace. I was in Germany. It was great. It's one of the best countries I've ever seen. It's beautiful. But when I was 12, my dad was sent to Iran as a Bell Helicopter employee, and we went with him. And while we were there, the country fell. That's the first time I've ever seen a war. I grew up in Indiana. I was in the cornfields. Never saw a war before. But every night we would go up on the roof, and we would watch people get shot. We would watch them shoot tracers in the air. And that was my first experience with the war. And then when I was 36, I went to Iraq as a volunteer with a company that I worked for. And I saw bombs going off, and I saw soldiers going out, and most of them coming back, and sometimes they didn't come back. How can you say, as an American, that you're okay with not bringing refugees to this country? Have you ever seen a refugee? Have you seen the country that they come from? Have you seen the wars that they go through? Have you seen the hell that they live with? And you're okay with saying, oh, you stay where you're at, that's fine. Why don't you go live in their country under the conditions that they live in, with no food, no money, and no hope? I'm sorry, what was that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you.
I'm just going to piggyback off of what that young lady said earlier. And I was so intrigued by what Kathy had to say that I kind of lost it. But several of us went to Mac Thornberry's office to personally invite me to this town hall. Several people on different occasions, you were personally invited, all three of you were personally invited, you were given invitations. The last time we went to your office, we were asked our names and our addresses, which we gave. But then we were told that if we had any questions or concerns, that you had a website. Well, I have an email too, and I can discern whether I want to delete something or answer it. But I prefer people that have an issue with me come directly to me, and so that we can look each other in the eye and have a face-to-face conversation. Because through an email, website, whatever social media you want to put out there, you don't know my tone, you don't know the look in my eyes, you don't know the passion of the issue that I want to talk to you about. And too much gets lost in translation. And you are a representative, and you need to be held accountable to all these people here and all the people that are in your district. And you need to stop running away from your responsibilities.
I think this is the perfect time to read something, two things that I got from Mac Thornberry. He said that he believes that it's very important to listen to the people of the 13th district. It is also part of my job to share some of the things I'm thinking about. And he also said that he receives input, because I asked him about attending district meetings. I receive input from the people 13th District in many ways, including calls, letters, faxes, emails, and telephone town hall meetings, which have gotten a very positive response from those who have participated. I send out email letters, newsletters, try to update my website regularly, and participate in a wide variety of meetings and interviews. I did ask if they would put me on the list for a phone conference, which I haven't heard. And in the February 21st Emerald Globe News, Thornberry said he had stopped doing town hall meetings many years ago because it became clear to me that essentially the people who came were people who had an agenda to get any attention from their cause. And it was driving everyone else away. I do it different ways, the emails, etc., which seems to be more productive.
Well, this is our chance. I mean, somebody, presumably, some minion in his office is going to take a look at this video from tonight. And I think we need to reduce the message. I also think we ought to do this before it gets too terribly late and too many people trickle out, because really we don't have a room that much longer. I want to mention that. I don't want to cut anybody off, but I also want to make sure we have time to visit afterwards, get to know each other a little bit. But look, back to what I said earlier, the fundamental idea of this country is that you have responsive elected officials. Not people that have telephone conference, pre-selected town hall meetings. The idea is that we have these guys come in here to answer the questions tonight, which have been incredibly powerful, true, and heartfelt.